You see the connection between taking responsibility and not feeling that you're a victim?
The one thing that it seems to me to be the hardest to do is that if the statement is true that that I'm responsible for creating the experiences in my life, then it seems to me that it's my fault that things are this way, and the whole process seems to be geared a lot towards me not being down on myself, and yet that kind of makes me down on myself if I feel like I'm, it's sort of like rejecting myself for rejecting myself.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, how about, for example, you're not responsible for creating your experience. It's your programming that is responsible. Can you hear that rephrase? Do you agree with it? It's your programming? So, but you could say, well, I'm responsible for my programming. On one level, yes. But on the other level, most of it went in when you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, unable to critically understand or analyze the cosmic significances of it all, you see. And so you just picked up the programming and the language and the social skills and habits of the people around you. It's called growing up. It's the way it works everywhere. No matter where you live, little babies pick up whatever the current social customs are, including the psychological customs. And victim programming is part of it, and blaming is part of it, and all the security, sensation, power, addictions, they all come in packages in different families. So I don't see that, let's say if the proverbial man from Mars came down and took a look, I don't think you would convince him that you're responsible for your programming on every level. On one level, it's you that maintain it. It's you that isn't working on it. He could say, yeah, you could change it. But in terms of putting it into you originally, well, no, that was more parents. And the whole environment. We can't even blame our parents alone. Because where did they get it from? Well, they got it from their parents. Now we know who's responsible. Granddad and grandma. But that's rather silly because they got it from great-granddad and great-grandma. And you can go back 100,000 years if you could trace the genealogy, and you still wouldn't find the culprit because there's always one more behind it, you see. Finally, you get back to the origin of human life, say a protozoan or a one-celled animal that was created maybe 3 billion years ago, and you can blame it all on this single, simple one-cell amoeba, and say, well, that is the cause of all the louse up in the universe. So let's just blame it on the first amoeba and let it go. So we're all innocent except that first bastard amoeba that did it to us. Now we got all the blame settled. Let's live our life and get rid of the effects. It's really, it gets silly to try to blame, doesn't it? And it's not a useful thing. It really doesn't matter who or what is to blame. If your heart is bleeding from an arrow in it, don't waste too much time trying to find out where it came from. Pull it out, heal the wound, go on with your life. That's the way to live, you see. So can you make Janet an innocent, beautiful, perfect being? Perfect in the sense that the stereo set is perfect. The computer is perfect. But the program put into the stereo or the computer could be awful. So we need new programs. We need to reprogram. We are perfect. We're beautiful. I feel that sincerely, deeply. I think that's an accurate scientific statement. So let's tell our ego to get off our case. Okay.
What Ken has described allows for a cosmic perspective or a broader perspective that gives us permission to feel compassion for ourselves and where we are. And on the level of practice required to make the changes that he's talking about, not only on an intellectual level but an emotional level, we can use the pathways. Are you familiar with the pathways? Do you know them?
I've been here.
Let's say the fifth pathway together, whoever knows it.
I take full responsibility here and now for everything I experience, for it is my own programming that creates my actions and also influences the reactions of people around me. It's my own programming that creates my actions, not me. And for a while,
when I first got into this, I really didn't like that pathway because I equated it with blaming myself. And I was always in a hurry to get through that one and to the next one, the sixth pathway, which says, I accept myself completely, here and now, and consciously experience everything I feel, think, say, and do, including my emotion-backed addictions, as a necessary part of my growth into higher consciousness. So I was always happy to get to that pathway because it was a lot more comfortable to make a statement of I accept myself rather than I take responsibility. That felt very burdening. And after a while, there came a twist in my mind, and it suddenly became clear to me that the fifth pathway is actually offering me a wonderful reminder that I have the ability to make whatever change I want to, since I'm responsible. I have it within my power, within my realm, to change how I react to situations. In other words, if somebody says something and I react addictively, and I feel upset, I can take responsibility for that. And what that does, it shows me that I have the freedom to make another choice, to do something else. And it was very opening. And so for a long time I equated with blaming. Then I got to a point where I saw it's not the same thing as blaming at all. It's offering choice, which is also what the centers of consciousness does for us as a method. It allows us to see that we have the choice, whatever center of consciousness we want to operate in. We can choose the security center and be all afraid. We can choose sensation center and feel frustrated. We can choose the power center and feel angry. We can choose the love center and feel peaceful. And another thought I had is that when you are looking at things that you don't like about yourself, to help balance that out, look at some of the things that you do like about yourself. To give yourself the perspective that you are not only those things that you don't like about yourself. We have a tendency to make statements, and you might watch for this in yourself, to say statements like, I'm dumb, or I'm slow, or any number of things. And we make these statements of who we are. You know, I am this, as if that's all we are, that's all we're ever going to be, you know, and we're nothing else, which is totally inaccurate. It's not accurate that that's all you are. And so what's an example of one thing that you reject yourself for?
Being possessive in relationships.
Okay, being possessive. I am possessive. You know? And when you make a statement like that, you may not be aware of the impact of that statement on your mind, which is saying to you, that's all I am, and that's all I ever can be, all I ever will be. Not true. That's ridiculous. So, catch yourself when you say those, and when you do, correct them with a statement such as, I find myself having programming that pushes me to run off possessive habits, possessive tapes, something like that, instead of who I am. But this seems to me one of the qualities that my mind has brought up for me right now. And that allows you to recognize all of the other beautiful things about you.
Yes.
My worst situations seem to be, I think you call it addictive snarls, where it's a combination of many addictions, and it's overwhelming. I'm bored with my job. I don't make enough money. I don't know how I'm going to pay rent next month. I'm not doing what I want to do artistically. I feel inadequate. I mean, it's just I could go on and on. Mm-hmm. It's a combination, maybe 6, 7 powerful things. So far we've been talking about one, and it's never one. It's just it's an army. It seems
I hear
like.
that.
So it's so overwhelming. I could sit by myself and go, well, okay, I'm addicted to these things, but it's like I feel powerless anyway. You know, what I'm asking is, how do I get in perspective and look at it one at a time and eliminate each one? You know, crucial things like, you know, the money. You know, you got to have money to live in this society. You got to have transportation. You've got, you know, and these things are constant nails in your, you know. You understand what I'm getting at, you know.
You've given a beautiful description of a problem that we all face in varying degrees. First, I'm hearing two things you brought up. Let's take a look at this. Do you feel you handle the life problem better when you run an addictive program or when you run a preferential program? Because it was like, I heard you say, this is really serious, this is important, I've got to run the addiction. Is that an illusion?
It's like I'm trying to defend my addiction.
Yeah, they're all right to have, but they just create a lot of unhappiness in life. Now, take a look. Remember how we define a preference. Remember the 4 characteristics of the preference. What are they?
I can still want things to change.
Right.
Great.
I don't have to hurt myself.
All right, you don't have to suffer any longer.
Don't have to
unhappy
suffer
any longer.
What was number 1?
Like, can you want things different, but you can also
work to make changes.
Right.
That's another characteristic of preference. One other. Who knows it? You can still say, I'm right. Now, with that information about the nature of a preference, do you feel that if you have a really serious situation in your life, that you can handle it better with addictive programming or preferential programming?
I feel like the addictive programming puts me in a cage and I can't make any clear decision because I bite off more than I can chew mentally to begin with. So,
what else does addictive programming do? What are the disadvantages of addictive programming?
Well, I guess many things, but the main thing to me was the inability to make a clear decision.
Okay, it's very confusing.
Yes, especially when it's a multiple thing.
Right.
You know.
Okay. Let's look at that a little longer now. What are some other rip-offs of addictive programming? Let's have some help from other people. What are other rip-offs? Yes.
You don't see your choices.
You don't see all the choices. You just focus on only one thing. Okay. What other rip-offs of addictive programming?
You feel separate from yourself and others.
You feel very separate. There's no way to love yourself or other people, is there? What else?
Energy loss.
You lose a lot of energy. Yeah, whenever you're tired, it's really carrying addictions, not just your soap opera that day. Yeah, what else? Yes, Chuck?
Even when you're getting your addiction met, you aren't happy because you keep being afraid it's not going to stay met.
Right. Even if you get your addictive demand, you're now worried about losing it. Like, let's say I'm addictively demanding to have Mary as my girlfriend, and finally Mary and I get it together and she's my girlfriend, but now she's over talking to Harry. And I'm worried. In other words, I got my addictive demand, but now my ego has to draw another boundary and protect the addictive demand, and on and on and on, you see. Yeah, there's no peace from it. What else? What other rip-offs are there?
You lose your sense of humor.
You can't laugh at the cosmic humor of life, can you?